What's good, kings and queens? I hope everyone's doing alright. This week's video is on when boxers get taken to school. Brilliant displays of boxing to completely dominate a fight, or the exploitation of a fighter's flaws that never seem to be corrected. With that being said, let's start the video. In June 2008, Vernon Forrest would get dethroned of his WBC junior middleweight crown against the undefeated Contender Series star Sergio Mora by majority decision. Most watching thought this would be the last we'll see of Vernon Forrest at the top of his level, making it an end of an era. An immediate rematch was made. We're talking 3 months later. Vernon is promising that you will see the Vernon of old in this fight. Vernon claimed on the day of the weigh-in, his system for cutting weight was thrown off. Instead of being at 154 pounds on weigh-in day when he wakes up at 5 in the morning, but at 5 he's at 160 pounds. He was able to shed off all but 2 pounds. Then he was forced to hit the sauna and sweat the rest off. He was able to make weight, but he claimed he was drained from it.
So I wake up at 6 pounds over. I started working out at 5 o'clock in the morning. The pounds wouldn't come off. The last 2 pounds just stuck. It's really stuck. So I had to go to the sauna, and for 2 hours I was in the sauna sweating off the weight. I got the weight off, but I was flat, and so it just drained me.
Having the fight literally immediately would prove to everyone that was the case, which Vernon would put on one of the greatest performances since the Shane Mosley fight.
Good left hand by Forrest. Good right hand. Again, he's going to get pounded and get crushed. Yeah, I think he'll land and take a big toll against a big right. Mora down. There's a sharp left and a big right hand. And that staggered Mora. He's just not letting Mora into this fight for a minute. Left hand. And that buckled the knees. And I believe they're going to say that the knee went down.
Forrest would sweep Mora, finishing the fight strong and recapturing the junior middleweight crown by a wide margin.
There's a right hand from Forrest and a pretty good jab and a right hand. There's a good right hand. That staggered Mora. And now a left hand. Trying to finish with a flourish. Another left hand. And a wild right misses. Left hand. Combination work for Mora. And another right hand for Mora. 5 seconds left. Or rather from Forrest.
Vernon would unfortunately pass away the following year, 2009 being a very grim year in boxing, with the passing of Vernon Forrest, the great Alexis Arguello, and Arturo Gatti all in the same month of July, just weeks apart from each other.
You know, my condition was fantastic, my weight was fantastic, so I knew it was going to be a great performance. You know, this fight was about this belt. It wasn't about money. It wasn't about opportunity. It wasn't about fights after this. It was just about this one fight. I'm happy I got this fight. Whatever happens after this, it happens, you know.
After the incredibly disappointing performance against Amir Khan, Zab was willing to make a big bounce back, fighting the 26-0 undefeated contender Vernon Paris. Also, really random, Paris somehow managed to fight both Burtons. Emmanuel Burton, aka Emmanuel Augustus, and Courtney Burton, who was literally coming off a 4-year layoff, then to retire. This fight was IBF title elimination bout. Paris was ranked number 10 by Ring Magazine. Judah still in the top 10 after the loss to Khan, sitting at number 6. Due to Judah's awful outing against Khan, where he was unable to pull the trigger and form an offense, he came in as the betting underdog against Paris. But this fight is in Brooklyn, so you know Judah had to show up big, and he sure did. Zab would turn it back with this fight, completely outclassing Paris. Judah hasn't had a performance this good since the Cosmo Rivera fight in 2005. We're talking about a complete dominant shutout performance. We finally saw the Super Judah, not just in shades, but the whole fight. Judah would get the TKO win in the 9th round to earn a shot to fight for the IBF title. This would be Broner's first fight in the lightweight class after moving up from super featherweight. His opponent is a WBC champion Antonio DeMarco. DeMarco had won the vacant title against Jorge Linares, pulling off an amazing comeback late in the fight. He will then beat contender Miguel Roman, then John Molina. There was a bit of a glove issue. DeMarco was complaining about Broner's gloves being smaller. The gloves were already checked and approved by the commission. So after some commotion, DeMarco agreed to wear Broner's spares, which is why both fighters are wearing pink gloves. This fight was shortly after the passing of the great Emmanuel Stewart, and Broner commemorated his performance to him by putting a picture of him on his trunks. A tribute indeed, because this would be one of the best performances of Broner's career post super featherweight.
DeMarco coming in with a left hand.
He's not giving much headroom.
You know you're going to get countered.
That's exactly
2 punches in a row yet.
Well, they're still in that situation where each guy can bleed it. Hard right hand by Broner.
DeMarco never had a chance, and Broner just took him apart and carried him to where he couldn't carry him no more.
Rather than professionals.
DeMarco can't win the inside fight with that.
Good sharp right hand inside by Broner. And another. DeMarco with a right to the body. Broner lands an uppercut. And another. DeMarco fires back with a right and a left.
And he put him away in the 8th round. A brilliant performance that set the bar high for the young champion.
Devastating DeMarco with uppercuts.
Yeah, because his hands are so in that fight right there.
DeMarco lands a straight left.
Combination punches on the inside are killing DeMarco.
Broner just taking DeMarco apart at the moment.
Yeah, it's just when he got close to him, he realized that his hands are too quick. Don't stay away from him. Get close to him and get at it.
Broner out by taking punches.
Down goes DeMarco.
A fighter has that one performance where it's so good that it cannot be repeated again. This is it right here. Paulie Malignaggi coming off his devastating loss against Cotto, where he took a beating and still fought on with a broken jaw and all to make it to a decision, would find himself after a comeback fight against Egner Cherry back into title contention. He will be fighting the tough and underrated Lovemore Endo in his first fight for the IBF Junior Welterweight title. Paulie would completely shut out Endo. He fought his ass off from round 1 to round 12. It was a hell of a show. 2 out of 3 judges did not give Endo a single round. Whenever I think of great one-time performances, this fight always comes to mind with me, because what was to transpire after that? We will never see Paulie like this again for years. This fight was in 07. The next time I would see the Magic Man looking like the Magic Man will be in a series with Juan Diaz in 2009 and Adrian Broner in 2013.
The crowd has really spurred him on here, and you know, Malignaggi's feeling it. He knows he's the champion. He's acting like a champion. He's finishing this fight like a champion too. This is what you call closing the show. Very important for a fighter to close the show, giving his fans what they want.
After a not-so-inspiring performance in his comeback after the Mayweather fight against Juan Lezcano, Hatton would find himself dropping his trainer and teaming up with Floyd Mayweather Sr. Paulie was fighting as the co-main, the Hatton-Lezcano card, as this was a setup fight for them to go against each other. Paulie looked just as bad as Hatton did and barely squeaked away with a decision in his rematch against Lovemore Endo. The contrast between the first and the second fight is insane. When training with Floyd Sr., Hatton had to start back out at the basics because he never knew how to do mitt work.
The name of the game is hit and don't be hit. That's the name of the game. Ricky was just bulldozer, very aggressive, overly aggressive to me. To tell you the truth, he almost put me down in the gym when we first started because he really didn't know how to even hit pads.
Hatton would pick it up quite quickly, and he looked amazing. So after months, Hatton under Floyd's tutelage is put to the test. Paulie would respectfully get the first.
And afterward, he's expected. And it's something he has fought with several times. And if he can get it going.
Very accurate.
And after that, it was all Hatton. Hatton had fully adjusted and outclassed Paulie. Paulie had no answers to Hatton's adjustments. All Paulie had was his quick jab, which he was catching Hatton in the first round, but Hatton immediately found a way to not only evade it, but counter over the jab with his own shot. Floyd Sr. was able to provide Hatton with a better defense when applying his signature pressure and infighting. This led Paulie to get battered, then stopped in the 11th round.
Malignaggi,
or as immediately as Joe
is learning that he can't be hurt.
Everything with his left hand, but they have to be double and triple.
Well, we're seeing but they're coming from Ricky Hatton, and Hatton has a big left
Hand inside or something, but he's
They're going to
right
throw it
now.
in right now. You are exactly right. Absolutely right, Lennox Lewis. Buddy McGirt came up the step.
Before we get back to the video, be sure to hit that like button to help the rest of the good old folks see the video. This video's comment section topic is on, with the shutdown of the beloved Showtime boxing, what is your favorite Showtime boxing moment? And what was your favorite All Access or Fight Camp 360 season? Leave in the comments. Thanks for sticking around, and let's get back to the video. In the 12th defense of Golovkin's title, he would find himself against a very tough 29-1 Martin Murray. Murray would come up, win the prize fighter tournament, later earn his shot to fight WBA champ, the great Felix Sturm, fighting him to a draw. He'll find himself back into title contention, fighting another great, Sergio Martinez, in his first fight in Argentina in a decade. Murray would give all he could handle and even drop the champ in the 8th round. Martinez was able to rally back and squeak away with a close unanimous decision. Due to Murray's track record, this was billed as Golovkin's toughest opponent that will give him trouble, as Murray is a big middleweight. Golovkin, unbothered by Murray's size, was able to force Murray on the back foot and brilliantly put on a great offensive and underlooked defensive performance. Despite Murray's punch count, Golovkin was able to disable all his weapons and systematically break him down round by round. Not only the strong tight guard, but the chin of Murray was so good. With Golovkin, the punch that was going to get him down to the canvas was a perfectly placed body shot. Due to Murray's tight guard, instead of just loading up, trying to break through like some madman, Golovkin would strategically tap his way, finding weak points in Murray's guard, then load up when he least expects it, breaking right through. With the combination of the body attack, this broke down a fighter who seemed indestructible at middleweight, where the ref was forced to stop the fight in the 11th round, further continuing Golovkin's knockout streak.
Maybe not. Tremendous right hand shot by Golovkin. Murray sailed through the air before landing hand shot in the last round. And now Pavone's going to stop it. He's seen enough. Whether the people in Murray...
This will be one of the last great performances of Golovkin, displaying all his weapons. There's two Golovkins here. There's a good boy killer slash Mexican style Golovkin who mixed it up upstairs and downstairs while brilliantly displaying his boxing ability. Then there's Triple G. Triple G was more of a headhunter, went far less to the body, but still displayed great boxing ability. But the abandonment of the body work would hurt him in future fights. I don't think the Triple G version of Golovkin would have been able to get Murray out of there to continue the knockout streak.
But as Murray lands his few good...
In the first match, there was a major fumble in the scorecards to ruin what was a great fight. The fight was originally announced as a draw, and to add on further to Rocky's disappointment, he will later be informed there was a mistake and he actually lost the fight by a split decision. Due to this fumble and the fact this was a very exciting fight, a rematch was quickly made. Barrera dominated the rematch, brilliantly displaying his boxing skills, completely disabling Juarez's offense to where he had far less round by round punch count compared to the first fight, causing the fight fans to boo the fighters. Barrera, ignoring the boos and fighting his fight, will not let up and continue to carve up and exploit Juarez's experience and boxing ability. The most important weapon in Barrera's offense was a jab. Juarez could not find a way past that, and he was getting eaten up. Barrera would earn an unusually close unanimous decision. Two of the judges scored at 115-113. One judge had it rightfully at 117-111, and Harold's scorecard had it at 118-110. So I went into full detail of the build up in my last video. Go check that out for more additional information. Since this fight was unfortunately made into a legacy fight for Inoue, to make things even worse, Fulton and his team claimed Inoue was cheating with his gloves and wraps, particularly stacking, which is perfectly legal in American states such as Nevada and Texas, which Fulton's biggest fight to date took place in Nevada. Stacking is legal in Japan, so Inoue is not breaking any rules here. Inoue has worn winning gloves for about 95% of his career, and yet he still had devastating power, especially when he grew into the weight classes. To shut down any excuses in the post-fight, if Inoue were to win, he had agreed to Team Fulton's method of wrapping, which they claimed was the root of Inoue's power.
I'm thinking perhaps the only reason you defeated Frieza was because you had this sword in hand.
I don't know, you think so?
Clearly. Without this sword in your possession, you're nothing.
Inoue would also decide in this fight to wear winning gloves, which they are notoriously known as the pillows of boxing. Inoue knows he has power, regardless how his setup is on fight day, but he wants to beat Fulton with just skills and athleticism alone and display to a wide audience that Japan got that sweet science. And Inoue would fully display that from round 1 and on. Fulton from rounds 1 through 3 was lost while fighting mostly on his back foot. Even at one moment he tried stepping on Inoue's foot pretty blatantly, which the ref quickly noticed, told Fulton, then gave a much stern warning about that. After the third, this forced Fulton to begin to fight forward and get Inoue on the back foot as the pace began to slow in the fight. The commentary team embarrassingly stating that Fulton was supposed to have been the better boxer. Fulton mostly being beaten to the punch, but to his credit, he would catch Inoue with his best punch in the 5th round at the 2-minute 36 marker with a short shot that really should have dropped Inoue. I think that's as perfect is going to get with Fulton, and Inoue just ate it. Despite Fulton landing here and there, catching Inoue out of his rhythm, Inoue would still bank in the round based on him matching Fulton and then some. After that round, it was pretty much a walk in the park for Inoue. Fulton just had no answer, and in the 8th round, which it's crazy because what set up Fulton to land that counter in the 2-minute 36 mark of the 5th was a short shot when Inoue was throwing the stiff jab to the body. Inoue would throw that very same shot just with a better guard and at a much faster speed, which makes me think Inoue could have been a bit punched out in the 5th. But unlike in the 5th, Fulton was ready for it to a T, as Inoue didn't really do anything to set it up. And in the 8th, he did not see it coming because Inoue was setting up a trap, which was that. Fulton was unable to recover, and that was all she wrote. If you follow me on Instagram, you already know how much this guy frustrates me whenever he fights. If the goal was to rustle my jimmies, this topic certainly accomplishes that. The term a football YouTuber by the name of Flemo Raps would say, genetic lottery. Sebastian Fondura is certainly a great example of a genetic lottery winner. This man is 6'5.5" with an 80-inch reach, fighting at junior middleweight. Not only he is taller than the Hitman Hearns, but his reach is longer than Muhammad Ali and just shy of Lennox Lewis, Anthony Joshua, and the Klitschko brothers. This man is built like a custom fighter on fight night. You know the ones. Freakishly tall, crazy reach, just spams the crap out of you in ranked matches. With the height and the reach of a heavyweight, why the fuck his handlers having him fight like a guy with T-Rex arms of a reach in the phone booth? You gotta give props to a guy like Gamboa with a freakishly short reach, but he fought like he had an above average reach in his weight class. He made every inch matter. This guy, yeah. No. What egotistical, deranged team members never corrected this man's style where he can fully utilize his height, reach, leverage, and the power that comes with all three together?
Young fighters come up with the trainers who train them as amateurs or relatives who know something about boxing but are not professional trainers and are not equipped to bring them to the next level.
This is borderline criminal here to brainwash this guy that it's okay for him to be fighting like this. It's just absolutely sad because this can shorten this young man's career. It's like soon as he upped up the level of competition going for a title run, due to this awful style, he was taking an unnecessary amount of damage. Very preventable. Even taking baby steps of changes, fight by fight, would have helped, but they didn't do a damn thing. Even when the Lubin fight was a massive wake-up call.
You know, when you say that, you know, some trainers, amateur trainers, need to give their pupils some wings, allow them to get some other teaching, say, what can you teach my boy? Help him to get better.
It's a good point. The roots of knowing about fighting, of making them love fighting, knowing how to train, but then you give them the wings so that they can fly to the best place for them to become as good as they can be.
The Lubin fight was for the WBC interim title, making him the mandatory. So really, he could just sit on rank, fight lower competition, working on his fundamentals, till he can finally challenge Charlo. Coming into the Ocampo fight, that was the best opportunity to make that soft transition. Nope, nothing new to see here. In my Instagram stories, I even said they better sit on rank here till it's their turn to fight Charlo, because if he fights anyone in that weight class with power, it's going to be a bad day. Brian Mendoza would be his opponent. He just came off a big KO win over former unified champion Jason Rosario, who was on a 3-fight win streak over his loss to Lubin. Once again, nothing new from Fondura. The first 2 rounds, there was an attempt to use his reach. He was keeping Mendoza at bay, but that was thrown out the window, and now we see him fighting in the phone booth with Mendoza, which is just sapping all that potential power he could have on his shots. It was just a matter of time, and Mendoza would catch Fondura with an overhand shot that went unaccounted for, obviously. Mendoza was a bit off mark this time around. In the 7th round, he would find his mark with the overhand. Then even more success with the short left hook, which came to Mendoza's surprise, to where after the pause in action, he quickly finished off Fondura, which due to the ref's bad position, really could have stopped the fight right there and saved Fondura from cracking his head on the canvas. Quick shout out to Muay Thai for allowing refs to catch the fighters' heads upon getting knocked down backwards. There's plenty of recent examples going viral, but this practice has been going on for years, as Muay Thai is one of the most deadliest combat sports. This fight here is from 1993 of the legendary Muay Thai champ and 2-time boxing world champion Virapol Sahapram and his rematch against rival Samsan Isan. Sahapram knocks Isan down, which if his head hits the canvas, he would have been out, with the ref catching his head. Sahapram would then knock him down again, where the ref would catch his head for a second time, not taken away from the fight, nor the finish where Sahapram would finish off Isan in style, with the ref once again saving the back of the head of Isan. I can just imagine how many careers can be saved and prolonged if this was practiced in boxing. With all that being said, I hope Fondura is able to get that proper help he needs and transition to a boxer puncher where he can use his height and reach, because this is an absolute waste of a fighter who has so much potential. The Charlos, which I'll pretty much say it was a joint effort by both brothers to have a fight with Canelo. Apparently Jamal, who is the middleweight champ, was supposed to have been fighting Canelo, but it did not fall through because Jamal was going through some problems. Since this was a fight Jermell always wanted, he took up the challenge to fight Canelo. I personally thought out of the two, Jermell was the full package, despite Jamal having the most potential. Coming in, I thought this was going to be a competitive fight because of Jermell's track record. He may not start fast, but he is one of the best anchors in the sport when it comes to finishing a fight. So I was really expecting Charlo to dig deep in the final 4 rounds of the fight. The strength is one thing. Canelo will obviously have that advantage as he properly put on the weight for super middle, but the speed, agility, footwork, and ability to cut off the ring, Charlo was not expecting. Charlo seemed like he was still under the assumption that he was fighting the Canelo in this picture right here, cement feet Canelo, that had so much trouble cutting off the ring and forming an offense against Lara where Canelo would just follow, no jab, and headhunt. This version of Canelo is far better at cutting the ring off, uses his jab, and applies pressure, and despite not finding an opening, will forcefully create openings by purposely banging your elbows in guard. Perfect example being in the 3rd round. Charlo was so worried about Canelo purposely throwing to the high guard that he left his body open due to Canelo's feint, which he threw a perfect hook to the body. That banging on the guard will eventually leave Charlo with another weak spot where he's expecting it to come in wide as usual, but Canelo threw it straight, splitting right through the guard, dropping him. Charlo just couldn't find a way around Canelo's offense and defense. I believe he was truly trying up until the knockdown, and then he packed it in. That was reassured when it came to the championship rounds. Like I said, Charlo is a great anchor, but he came in tonight to finish on his feet and not finish the fight strong. Canelo will retain the undisputed title by a wide margin on the scorecards. And on top of that, this is when boxers get taken to school. For more installments, be sure to like, share, and if you're new, subscribe. Subscribe to the Patreon for Patreon-backed projects and early access. This project being on the tale of Floyd Mayweather versus Ricky Hatton. I'm Alpha Sancho, and I'm out.